In the peaceful village of Omuko, surrounded by red earth paths and green palm trees, there lived a girl so beautiful that people stopped whatever they were doing just to stare at her. Her name was Chism. Chism was the only daughter of King Ebiub, the ruler of Omuko, and Queen Amoka, a woman known for her kindness and long braided hair. From the day Chism was born, people whispered that she would grow up to become the most beautiful woman in all the villages. And they were right. Chism's skin was dark like polished ebony, smooth and glowing. Her eyes were bright, like stars on a dark night. Her smile could make a crying child stop and laugh. Even the birds in the trees seemed to chirp more sweetly when she passed. But there was something terrible. Chism had a secret. A very bad secret. She smelled. Not just a little smell, but a very strong, strange, and sour odor. It was a body odor so powerful that goats would run away when she walked near. Even flies didn't come too close. When Chism was a baby, the smell wasn't too strong. Her mother would rub her with herbs and oils, but by the time she was 10, the smell had gotten worse. People tried to ignore it because she was the princess. But soon, it became too much. Whenever she walked past the village square, market women would stop pounding yam and cover their noses. Little children would whisper and laugh, calling her, "Princess Smell Smell," behind her back. But the worst part? She had no friends. No girls wanted to sit beside her. No boys wanted to play or talk with her. Some even ran away crying after standing close to her for just a few minutes. Still, Chism kept smiling. Every day, she wore the most colorful Ankara dresses and shiny beads. She tried to act like nothing was wrong. But deep in her heart, she was lonely. She spent most of her time by the big river behind the palace, sitting on a rock, looking at her reflection in the water, and asking God, "Why did you make me so beautiful, yet give me this smell?" One sunny afternoon, as the village prepared for the New Yam festival, drummers were playing, women were dancing, and the village was full of laughter. Chism stood on the palace balcony, looking down at the people she loved but who didn't love her back. Her heart ached. She wanted to join them, to dance, to laugh, to be like other girls. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Maybe today will be different." But it wouldn't be. Not yet. As the sun dipped lower, casting golden light over Omuko, Chism stepped away from the palace balcony. Her heart pounded like the village drums below. She could still hear the laughter and music from the square. The dancers' feet stomped the earth with joy. She wanted to feel that joy too. She ran to her room and quickly picked out her brightest outfit, a red and yellow Ankara dress with shiny silver embroidery. She wore her favorite coral beads and wrapped her hair into a neat bun. Before leaving, she looked at her reflection in the bronze mirror. "I am beautiful," she whispered. But a sad voice inside her replied, "Yes, but you smell." She took a deep breath, gathered courage, and snuck out the back gate of the palace, walking quickly through the narrow bush path toward the festival. As she neared the village square, the sweet scent of roasted yam, palm wine, and fried akara filled the air. Torches flickered, women danced in circles, and children chased each other around the market stalls. For a moment, no one noticed Chism. She stood under the shadow of a big mango tree, watching everyone with wide eyes. The drummers beat fast rhythms, and the young men danced, showing off their strength. Chism smiled. Her legs tapped slightly to the rhythm. Just one dance, she thought. She stepped forward, slowly at first, moving with the music. Her dress spun in the firelight. For the first time in many months, she felt free. But then, a breeze blew. And with it, her secret spread through the air. Suddenly, a drummer stopped playing. Then another. The music faded. People turned. Mothers frowned. Some covered their children's noses. Others whispered quickly. Laughter stopped. Even the goats shuffled away. A boy shouted, "It's the smelly princess." People began backing away, forming a wide circle around her. Some villagers started coughing and shaking their heads. One elderly woman muttered, "Why would she come here and spoil the air for everyone?" Chisholm stood frozen. Her legs stopped moving. Her arms dropped to her sides. Her smile faded. "I just wanted to dance," she said softly. But no one listened. One of the dancers, a proud-looking boy named Obina, stepped forward and said loud enough for all to hear, "Beauty means nothing if you smell like rotten Audrey." The crowd burst into cruel laughter. Chisholm's face burned with shame. Her eyes filled with tears. The same girl who had felt like a queen just minutes ago now felt smaller than a lizard's tail. She turned and ran. Ran past the huts. Past the yam stalls. Past the mango tree where she had stood. Her beads bounced on her chest as she pushed through the bushes and stumbled down the path toward the river. She didn't stop running until she reached her favorite rock. There, she fell to her knees, sobbing. "Why me?" she cried. "Why did you make me this way?" But the wind did not answer. Only the crickets chirped, and the moon watched silently above. Chisholm stayed by the river until her tears dried up. The moon had climbed high in the sky. The once loud festival was now quiet, and the village was asleep. She slowly stood up, brushing dust off her knees. Her feet felt heavy, her heart even heavier. "Maybe I should never show my face in the village again," she whispered. As she turned to walk back to the palace, she heard a sound, a soft rustle behind the bushes. Chisholm froze. "Who's there?" she asked, her voice shaking. There was silence. Then, slowly, a young boy stepped out from behind a tree. He looked around 17, tall and slender, with deep brown eyes and skin like fresh palm kernel. He wore a simple wrapper and held a small wooden flute in his hand. "I didn't mean to scare you," he said gently. "I was just listening." Chisholm looked at him, confused. "Listen to what?" "To your crying. To your pain," he replied. He stepped closer, slowly, as if not to frighten her. "My name is Tachuku," he said. "I live in the next village. I came with my uncle to the festival, but I don't like crowds. So I came here to play my flute." He raised the flute and played a soft tune. The notes floated into the night air, gentle and calming, like the breeze that now cooled Chisholm's face. For a moment, she forgot about her embarrassment, her smell, her pain. "That's beautiful," she said softly. Tachuku smiled. "Thank you. I always play when I feel something deeply. And tonight, I felt your sadness." Chisholm blinked. You saw what happened?" Tachuku nodded. "Yes. But I also saw how you danced, before the people turned. You moved like the river itself. Like freedom." Chisholm felt her cheeks grow warm. No one had ever spoken to her like that. "But didn't you smell me?" she asked. "Everyone else ran because of it." Tachuku looked at her seriously. "Yes. I did." Her face dropped. "But I also saw your heart. And that smells sweet." Chisholm gasped. No one, not even her own father, had ever said anything so kind. She lowered her eyes. "You don't mean that." "I do," Tachuku said. "You're not your odor. You are much more." He reached into a small pouch tied around his waist and pulled out a little leaf bundle. "My grandmother is a herbalist. She once helped a girl in our village who had a similar smell. Try this." Chisholm stared at the wrapped leaves in his hand. "What is it?" she asked. "A mixture of crushed ugu leaf, bitter kola, and black seed oil," he said proudly. "It may not cure you completely, but it helps. Sometimes." Chisholm took the bundle with trembling hands. Her eyes filled with tears again, but this time, not from sadness. "Thank you, Tachuku." He nodded. Then he turned to leave. "Wait!" Chisholm called out. Tachuku looked back. Will I see you again? Tachuku smiled. If you come back here tomorrow night, I'll be waiting, with more music. And just like that, he disappeared into the bushes, his flute notes echoing behind him like a dream. Chisholm clutched the leaf bundle to her chest. For the first time in a long time, her heart felt warm. The next morning, the sun rose gently over Umiko, painting the sky in pink and orange. Inside her room, Princess Chisholm sat on her bamboo mat, still holding the apple bundle Tachuku had given her. She had barely slept. All night, her heart danced with questions. Who is Tachuku really? Can this mixture really help me? Why did he speak to me like I was someone special? Chisholm opened the leaf bundle carefully. Inside were crushed green leaves, bitter cola shavings, and a tiny bottle with thick black oil. The smell was sharp but clean. Her mother, Queen Amoka, knocked and entered the room, holding a bowl of warm water. You came back late last night, the queen said gently. Chisholm looked up, unsure of what to say. I just needed air. The queen noticed the leaves in her daughter's hand and frowned. What are those? Herbs, Chisholm replied. From someone I met by the river. Queen Amoka sighed. She sat beside her daughter and touched her cheek. My dear, we've tried everything, oils, baths, prayers. This smell has fought us since the day you turned 10. I know, Chisholm whispered. But I want to try this one. Just one more time. Queen Amoka studied her daughter's eyes. She saw something there that hadn't been there in years, hope. Okay, she nodded. Let me help. Together, they mixed the herbs into the water. Chisholm dipped a cloth into the mixture and gently wiped her arms, neck, and underarms. The sharp, earthy smell of the herbs filled the room. Phew! Queen Amoka waved her hand. You smell like a forest. Chisholm laughed for the first time that morning. A real, bright laugh. Better a forest than a pit toilet, she joked. They both laughed. After the bath, Chisholm dressed in a simple wrapper and stayed by the open window, letting the sun dry her skin. For the first time in years, she felt fresh. But deep down, she was scared. What if it didn't work? What if the smell came back in an hour? Still, she wanted to believe. She needed to believe. Later that day, she walked to the village square, just to test herself. Slowly. Carefully. She passed two women selling tomatoes. They looked at her. They didn't cover their noses. She passed a group of children playing with sticks. They paused, but didn't run. Chisholm's heart beat faster. Could it be? Was it working? Just as she began to smile, a sudden gust of wind swept past, strong and wild. The tomato women suddenly stiffened. One whispered, "She's still there." The other shook her head and whispered, "It's fading, but not gone." Chisholm's smile dropped. She turned around and walked away quickly, her eyes burning with tears. But she did not run. She did not hide. Because this time, something was different. The smell wasn't as strong. It was fading. She could feel it. That night, as stars blinked over Umiko, Chisholm returned to the river. Tachuku was already there, sitting on the same rock, flute in hand. I tried your herbs, Chisholm said softly. He smiled. And it's better. Not perfect. But better. Tachuku nodded. Healing takes time. Then he played a gentle tune. And Chisholm, even with all her fear and doubt, danced again, slowly, quietly, but with her heart open. And the breeze that blew that night, it carried music. Not shame. The morning after her quiet dance by the river, Chisholm woke up with a smile on her face. For the first time in a long time, she felt lighter. The air in her room smelled only of the herbs she had rubbed on her skin the night before. She quickly prepared another bath with the leftover leaves Tachuku had given her and rubbed her body carefully. As she stepped out into the palace courtyard, the palace maids stopped to stare at her, not with disgust, but surprise. "Is that Chisholm?" one of them whispered. "She smells different," said another. Chisholm heard them. And for the first time in a long while, she didn't walk away in shame. She lifted her chin and walked on proudly. That same afternoon, King Ebube received a message. A powerful young prince named Namdi, from the distant kingdom of Obiun, was coming to visit. "He is searching for a bride," the messenger said. King Ebube stroked his chin thoughtfully. "We must prepare well." Queen Amoka glanced at Chisholm, unsure. "Should we present Chisholm to him?" "She is our daughter," King Ebube replied. "Whether he chooses her or not, we shall not hide her." Word spread quickly through Omuko. A royal visitor was coming. The women of the palace rushed to sweep the courtyard, polish the floors, and cook delicious meals. Chisholm sat quietly in her room, staring at her reflection. The prince. She touched her necklace nervously. Was she ready to meet someone new? Later that evening, a loud horn blew at the palace gate. Prince Namdi had arrived. He was tall, dark, and broad-shouldered. His agboda was made of rich blue fabric, with golden embroidery. His eyes scanned the palace with calm confidence. He bowed before King Ebube. "I greet you, wise ruler of Umuko," he said. "You are welcome, Prince Namdi," King Ebube replied. After sharing kola nut and palm wine, King Ebube clapped his hands. "Let my daughter be brought forward," he said. Chisholm was led into the room. She wore a green and gold Ankara gown, with soft makeup and red coral beads in her hair. Her skin glowed like polished wood. Prince Namdi stared at her, clearly taken by her beauty. But he said nothing yet. The room grew tense. Everyone watched for one thing, his nose. Would he wrinkle it? Would he cough? Would he step back? But he didn't. He kept looking at Chisholm with a curious smile. "I've heard stories," he said. "But you are more beautiful than I was told." Chisholm bowed her head, embarrassed. That night, as Chisholm returned to her room, she sat on her bed, heart pounding. Could it be? Had the herbs truly worked? Had her prayers finally begun to take shape? But a part of her didn't smile. Because her thoughts kept drifting to the river. And to the boy with the flute. The next morning, the palace was filled with laughter and cheerful music. Prince Namdi had stayed the night, and his men were helping palace guards prepare for a royal feast in his honor. But while everyone was busy preparing, Chisholm sat quietly by her window, staring at the sky. She held Tachuku's herbal pouch in her hands. It had helped her. She knew it. But a tiny fear still danced in her heart. What if it wears off? What if the prince smells me today? There was a soft knock at the door. Her mother, Queen Amoka, entered holding a tray of roasted plantain and palm oil. "My daughter," she said softly, "you must eat." Chisholm took the tray and smiled weakly. "Mama, what if he's only pretending not to notice my smell?" The queen sighed and sat beside her. "Men who lie don't smile with their eyes," she said gently. "And that boy, he watched you like you were water in the desert." Chisholm chuckled lightly. "He's not the only one who watched me like that." Queen Amoka raised an eyebrow. "Who else?" Chisholm bit her lip, then quietly said, "A boy. From the next village. He plays the flute. His name is Tachuku." The queen nodded slowly. "Is that where the herbs came from?" Chisholm nodded. "Then he must be a special boy," the queen whispered. "A gift from God to find you where no one else was looking." But just then, there was another knock, louder, firmer. It was one of the palace guards. "The prince has asked to speak with Princess Chisholm." "Alone?" Chisholm walked carefully to the royal garden, where Prince Namdi waited under a large udala tree. Birds chirped above as she approached. He turned, his face warm and bright. "You look even more radiant in daylight," he said. Chisholm bowed. "Thank you, my prince." They sat on a stone bench surrounded by sunflowers. "I wanted to know more about you," Namdi said. "I've heard many tales. Some say you were cursed. Others say you smell worse than a dead fish." He laughed softly. Chisholm looked down in shame. "I've heard all of it," Namdi continued. "But what I smell now is flowers and forest, a strong scent. But not unpleasant." Chisholm blinked. "You're not disgusted?" He shook his head. "No. In fact, I find it unique." Chisholm couldn't believe her ears. But something in his words felt too smooth, too perfect. And that's when it happened. A strong wind blew. This time, it carried the truth. Namdi's face twitched. Very slightly. He sniffed. Then shifted in his seat. His smile faded for just a second, but Chisholm saw it. He smelled it. He was pretending. Chisholm's heart dropped. Before she could speak, Namdi quickly stood and said, "I'll leave you to your garden. I have to speak with your father." He turned and walked away, faster than before. Chisholm sat there, still as a stone, her chest rising and falling slowly. He knew. He lied. But worse, he didn't have the courage to say it. That evening, Chisholm returned to the riverbank. Tachuku was already there, playing a new song, gentle and slow. She sat beside him without a word. After a while, she whispered, "The prince smelled me." Tachuku paused his music. "And?" "He pretended he didn't," she said. "But I saw it in his face." Tachuku nodded. "Then he's not the one." Chisholm looked at him. "And you?" she asked. "Why didn't you ever pretend?" He turned to her and smiled. "Because I didn't come for a perfect smell. I came for the girl who danced under the moonlight." Chisholm's eyes filled with tears again, but not from shame. This time, it was the sweet pain of being truly seen. The days in Umuko passed slowly after Prince Namdi's visit. He had left the palace without giving an answer about marriage. No drums, no proposal, no feast. Just silence. King Ebiub was disappointed but said nothing. Queen Amoka knew the truth, but held her daughter tightly each night, whispering, "The right one will not turn away." As for Chisholm, she spent more time by the river, and every evening, Tachuku was there, waiting with his wooden flute and quiet smile. One night, as fireflies danced above the water, Tachuku said softly, "I've been thinking. Maybe this smell, it's not just a sickness. Maybe it's a message." Chisholm looked at him, puzzled. "A message from who?" "To teach you something," he replied. "Or maybe to test those around you." Chisholm sighed. "I'm tired of being a test." Tachuku chuckled. "Even gold is tested with fire." That night, as they sat under the stars, Tachuku brought out a new bundle. "These herbs are different," he said. "My grandmother made them specially for you. She said the real healing must begin from within." He handed her a mix of bitter roots, lemon bark, and a rare purple flower called aquamiri, known in old tales to clean the spirit and the skin. Chisholm took it gently. She didn't speak, but her eyes said it all, "Thank you." The next day, Chisholm made a tea with the herbs. It was bitter, so bitter that her lips twisted in pain. But she drank it all. Each morning and night, she drank it again. And slowly, something began to change. Not just the smell, but her heart. She became lighter, happier, more free. She danced again, not to impress anyone, but because it made her feel alive. Even the villagers noticed. One afternoon, as she walked through the market, an old woman selling pepper called out, "Princess Chisholm, come and dance for us again, like you did when you were a child." Chisholm froze. A crowd had gathered. They weren't laughing. They were smiling. Encouraging. The drums began to beat. Chisholm took a deep breath and stepped into the open circle. The rhythm carried her. She spun, swayed, leapt, her feet light, her body full of joy. The people clapped and cheered. No one moved away. No one held their nose. And when the dance ended, they rushed forward, hugging her, lifting her in the air. She's back. Our beautiful princess is back. From a distance, Tachuku watched, smiling. But not all eyes in the crowd were happy. One pair of jealous eyes stared from behind a mango tree. It was Obinna, the proud village boy who once mocked her during the festival. His lips curled into a sneer. So she thinks she can rise now? After stinking up this village for years. He turned and disappeared into the shadows, his heart full of something dark. Chisholm's story was no longer just about smell. It was now about power. And not everyone wanted her to rise. That night, Umuko village buzzed with excitement. Everyone was still talking about Princess Chisholm's graceful dance in the market square. Some called it magic. Others said it was deliverance. But one thing was clear, Chisholm was no longer the same girl who hid by the river. Inside the palace, King Ebiub and Queen Amoka sat proudly in the great hall. Maids rushed around preparing fresh soups and pounding yam for a celebratory dinner in Chisholm's honor. But Chisholm didn't feel like eating. She sat on her balcony, staring at the moon. Her heart was full, not with pride, but peace. Just then, a knock came. It was Tachuku. He had never come to the palace before. "Your Highness," he said teasingly, "I heard the village has a new queen of dance." Chisholm laughed and invited him in. They sat quietly on the balcony floor, legs crossed, sharing roasted groundnuts from a leaf. "I've never felt this happy," Chisholm whispered. "You earned it," Tachuku replied. She turned to him, her eyes shining. "But I'm scared, too." "Of what?" "Of losing it all again." Tachuku paused. Then he leaned in slightly. "You can lose perfume. But not who you are." Those words melted into her soul. Just as Chisholm was about to respond, a loud shout echoed through the night. "Fire!" Drums of panic roared across the village. Chisholm and Tachuku ran to the balcony edge. Flames danced in the distance, the village healer's hut was on fire. Villagers rushed with calabashes of water, yelling and pointing. Chisholm's heart raced. That hut held all the herbs and healing knowledge of Umuko. If it burned, her hope of full healing might burn with it. She turned to Tachuku. "Come on." As they neared the healer's compound, the fire had already consumed most of the thatch roof. People formed a line, passing water quickly from hand to hand. The air smelled of smoke and fear. Chisholm ran to the side and peeked inside through the flames. Shelves of dried herbs and bundles were falling to ashes. She saw a small bag near the fire's edge, Tachuku's grandmother's pouch. The one with the rare purple flower. Without thinking, she dashed forward. "Chisholm, no!" Tachuku shouted. But it was too late. She reached in, grabbed the pouch, and turned, just as a beam from the roof fell, slapping the fire straight toward her. Smoke swallowed her. Villagers screamed. Tachuku rushed in and dragged her out, coughing and holding her tightly. She collapsed on the ground, soot covering her face, her dress burnt at the hem, but the pouch was still in her hand. People gasped in awe. She risked her life for herbs. "She's truly changed," someone whispered. But not everyone clapped. Standing quietly by the fence, Obinna smirked. That night, as Chisholm lay wrapped in palm leaves and healing ointment, Queen Amoka tended to her. "You are brave," the queen whispered, "but foolish." Chisholm smiled weakly. "I couldn't let it burn." Tachuku sat nearby, holding her hand silently. But outside, Obina met with two boys in the shadows. She wants to act like a queen, he hissed. Then let's remind her of who she used to be. And so, a new storm was coming. Not of smell, but of envy. The next morning Inumiko was come again. The fire had been put out. The healer's hut was mostly gone, but thanks to Chisholm's brave act, a few precious herbs were saved. She sat on a mat in the palace courtyard, her arms bandaged, but her spirit glowing brighter than ever. Villagers came to greet her, some bringing fresh fruit, others kneeling to say thank you. For the first time in her life, Chisholm felt truly respected. Even the children who once ran from her smell now danced around her, singing, "Chisholm the Brave." She faced the flame and did not run. She laughed, covering her face in embarrassment. But inside, she was smiling with joy. That afternoon, Tachuku visited again. This time, he brought his grandmother. A tiny, wrinkled woman with sharp eyes and a walking stick, she greeted Chisholm and bowed low. "You are brave like a lioness," she said in a cracked voice. "But your healing is not yet complete." Chisholm sat up straight. "What do I need to do, Mama?" The old woman handed her a small carved wooden bowl with powder made from yuda seed, guava bark, and something purple and shiny. "This," she said, "must be mixed with water and rubbed every morning before sunrise. For 7 days. No skipping." Chisholm nodded quickly. "I'll do it." Tachuku's grandmother patted her head and smiled. Then she looked into Chisholm's eyes and whispered, "But beware. When a flower starts to bloom, snakes always come closer." Chisholm blinked in confusion. Tachuku looked away, face tense. They didn't explain. The next day, Chisholm woke up before dawn, as instructed, and rubbed the powder mixture on her skin. She stood outside, facing the first light of morning, whispering softly, "Let this be the final door out of shame." As the week passed, her body felt different. Fresher. Lighter. Cleaner. Even the palace guards whispered to each other, "She doesn't smell at all anymore." But in the dark corners of the village, Obina was planning. He had gathered 2 other bitter boys who once liked Chisholm but were rejected or ignored because of her former smell. Together, they whispered lies into the ears of villagers. They said the herbs were witchcraft. They said Tachuku had bewitched the princess. They even claimed that Chisholm's new beauty and scent came from evil river spirits. And worse, Obina began planning a trap. One afternoon, he approached the village market leader, an old man with a bent back and a suspicious heart. He bowed deeply and said, "Elder, I beg you. Before the market tomorrow, ask Chisholm to pray publicly for the sick." "Why?" the elder asked. "Because," Obina lied, "if her healing is truly from God, then her prayers will heal others too." The elder scratched his beard. True." And so it was arranged. The next day, as the village market buzzed with traders, food, and drummers, a bell rang out loudly. "Make way for Princess Chisholm," the elder announced. "She will pray for the sick in our village." Chisholm froze. She hadn't been told. Tachuku, who stood nearby, frowned. "This wasn't part of anything," he whispered. The crowd parted. A small child was brought forward, burning with fever. The elder stepped back and gestured to Chisholm. "Let us see if the same hands that faced fire can now call down healing." Chisholm's hands trembled. She wasn't a prophet. She wasn't a healer. She was just a girl trying to live free. Her eyes darted around the crowd. She saw Obina standing near the back, arms folded, smiling cruelly. This was a trap. And now, everyone was watching. The crowd in Umiko Market was silent. All eyes were on Princess Chisholm. The sun beat down. The dust hung in the air. The sick child lay on a raffia mat, moaning softly. "Pray," the elder said again, this time louder. "If your healing is truly from God, let it flow through you." Chisholm's lips quivered. "I I'm not a prophet, she said. I didn't ask to heal anyone. Obina stepped forward, pretending to help. She fears because the power behind her is not from God, he said loudly. What princess mixes roots and powder and hides by the river? The smell is gone, yes, but at what cost? A wave of murmurs ran through the crowd. Whispers of witchcraft and river spirit floated through the air. Chisholm's chest tightened. Tears welled in her eyes. She opened her mouth to speak, but her voice cracked. Then suddenly, a flute began to play. A soft, strong melody that cut through the doubt and fear. Everyone turned. It was Tachuku. He stood alone, beside a mango tree, playing a song not of defense or attack, but of truth. The music grew louder. And something incredible happened. The child on the mat opened his eyes. He sat up slowly and looked around. The elder rushed forward and placed his hand on the boy's head. The fever is gone. Gasps of wonder filled the market. But Chisholm didn't speak. She simply knelt beside the boy, held his hand, and smiled. She whispered, healing does not always come from words. Sometimes, it comes from love. Obina's face burned with shame. He turned to leave, but the villagers blocked his path. One man stepped forward and said, "You have mocked her for years. But what did you ever risk for us? What have you ever healed?" And with that, Obina disappeared into the bush path, never to be seen in Umuko again. Later that evening, the people of Umuko gathered for a new kind of celebration. Not a festival of yams, or kings, or even weddings. But a festival of truth. Chisholm danced again. But not because she was cured. She danced because she was finally free. Tachuku watched from the edge of the square, smiling. As the drums rolled into the night sky, the people chanted, "The smell is gone, but the strength remains." I hope the story was enjoyable to you. If so, do give the video a like. Tell your loved ones and friends about it. Don't forget to leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell for more captivating stories like this one. Goodbye.